Hello, friends. Welcome back to True Health Tuesdays. I am still new at this, so I'm kind of awkward. You have to forgive me if I'm not 100% as professional as Pastor Ivor and Atante, but I'm learning. I'm getting there. But welcome back to our health program. And today, as you might already know, we're doing part two of our program about cancer. So if you haven't watched the first part, I hope you can watch the first one. You don't have to do it now. You can do it later. It's on our website for Living Manna Church. I think Power of the Lamb. I think True Health Tuesdays has its own website now. So go ahead and watch it. I hope sometime you can, get caught up with that, because in the first part, as you might remember, we talked about the causes of cancer. And so now today we're going to talk about, well, what we can eat, what we can do to fight cancer. Of course, there's other things than just food, but one of my specialties, I guess my biggest specialty, is nutrition, and love to talk about food. So today I'm going to talk about what foods specifically fight cancer. And so, first of all, just like last time, I'm going to tell you that this program is not meant to be a treatment for anybody, is not meant to diagnose anybody. This is 100% educational. So if you have cancer, or if you know anybody who has cancer, make sure you talk to a doctor. You're under, the care of a medical professional. But this could be very educational for you. So that's what I want to let you know first. And second, as always, I will always tell you this, that I hope everything that I speak in this program will be always in harmony with, this is a spiritual disclaimer, especially for Seventh-day Adventists, those of you who are Seventh-day Adventists. Everything that I say hopefully will be 100% harmony with the Bible and the spirit of prophecy. So everything, the rule that I follow, as you probably already know if you've heard me before, is Isaiah 8:20. And hopefully most of you know this verse by now. If not, you will learn it. Is to the law and the testimony. If it's not according to this, so anything that you hear, whether it's about health or about spiritual truths, if you hear something that is not according to the Bible and the testimony, meaning the spirit of prophecy, if it's not according to this, if there's something that is weird, that it doesn't sound right, there's probably no light in it. And as I've told you before, oh, wait, by the way, I think I remember you telling you this last time, we are living in very difficult times, very special times. And the reason is because we are under war. And this verse tells us about this. The dragon was enraged with the woman. The woman is the church, and went to make war. Went to make war with the rest of her, the rest of the church, meaning us, those who keep the commandments and have the testimony of Jesus. And as we know, what's the testimony of Jesus again? The Bible tells us, oops, I went too fast. The testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. The Bible gives us the answers. The Bible interprets itself. And as I've told you before, the books that I always recommend, there's always more books. Obviously, there's a lot of writings, but if you haven't read these two books, I recommend you go and read Counsels on Food and, wait, what's the name again? Because I can't see it. That screen is too small. Counsels on Diet and Food and Ministry of Healing. Highly recommended. Those are very good to start with. Okay. Also, by the way, what I think is very, very important is the scientific evidence is of good quality. And so as you see in this pyramid, the bottom of this pyramid is opinion. So whenever you hear people online, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, social media in general, internet, and Dr. Such and such says, and that's the only proof they have, it's very low quality evidence. Higher evidence is scientific evidence that actually is peer reviewed. In other words, that other people have looked into it, just like the Bible says, the testimony of two or more. So if just one expert says it, it's not enough. Biblically speaking, it's only one person. The Bible says testimony of two or more. Peer reviewed, that's exactly what it is. So it's biblical if you think about it in those terms. All right. So if you look at the top of this pyramid over here, peer-reviewed meta-analysis, that kind of thing, is many people looking at the same evidence and saying, yes, this is good. This is actually good evidence. That's what it means. All right. And right here, look at this quote from the Spirit of Prophecy. Look at what it says. The knowledge of science of all kinds is power. We're not anti-science. And a practical knowledge of science of human life is necessary in order to glorify God in our bodies. So sorry if I'm repeating this for those of you who have seen this before, but there might be people who have not seen it. That's why I think it's worth repeating. Okay. So I'm going to skip this one. We are going to talk about cancer. Last week, we talked about the causes of cancer. I gave a little bit of my testimony of how horrible cancer sometimes could be, especially if it touches someone in your family. It's touched my family many times. When it was my husband, it was a lot worse than it was when it was, someone a little bit more removed. But cancer is a little bit more, I think, scarier than other diseases. And just as a sort of a review, we talked about the stages of cancer, the initiation, the promotion. By the way, I forgot to mention progression. I don't think I defined it last time. Progression is when that tumor, so initiation, let me start over. Initiation is when there's damage. Do you remember when we talked about this last time? There's sort of a damage to the DNA, the genetic material inside of cells, whether it's from chemical damage, radiation, even viruses like COVID, can cause damage to the DNA of cells. And but that's just initiation. When that cell starts to replicate, so that one cell becomes two, two become four, four become eight, eight 16, and so on. That's the second stage, and that's promotion. And last week we talked a lot about promotion and what can lead to promotion, but also what can maybe even stop promotion. So if you haven't seen that, go back and watch that video. But progression, I didn't really define it. Progression is when that tumor or cells from that tumor get into the blood flow or even lymph flow and get to other parts of the body. And instead of being just in one organ, have gone to other organs. And you also might know this as by another term called metastasis. When the cancer has metastasized, it has gone into that third stage called progression. And that is much harder, of course, to deal with, as you can imagine. So this is what we talked about last week. We talked about how that, again, these toxins in the environment, sometimes we cannot avoid them. We don't know what in the environment could have played a part in one particular case of cancer. We don't know. That's the scary part about cancer. Like, what is it that caused my particular case of cancer? It's really hard to know, honestly, unless it's something like lung cancer and cigarette smoking. Honestly, that maybe could be more a direct cause, and it's really easier maybe to tell. But other than that, it's much harder. We are exposed to so many things throughout our lives. We talked about some of the foods. As you might remember, some of it was somewhat surprising to maybe some of you that watched the video last time, because we talked about, for instance, protein and how higher amounts of protein, animal protein, because I mentioned how they did the same exact, uh, same exact experiments or studies with the same animals, and the plant proteins from soy, from wheat, did not cause the effects that animal protein, in particular in the case of Dr. T. Colin Campbell, it was casein, the protein from milk, that caused the proliferation of cancer cells. And so you can see this in this graphic. So that's what they found. One of the things they found is that animal protein causes the proliferation of cancer cells. There's other things. Oh, by the way, so Dr. T. Colin Campbell says it's almost like turning cancer on and off. You can read that in the book, The China Study. But then he also found in the studies that actually affected the promotion. Remember? Because every single animal in those studies was given, in a way, cancer, because they were exposed to a cancer initiator, if you will, whether it was aflatoxin, which is very toxic, very cancer causing toxin, or they were animals that had the cancer causing virus, and they were all exposed to that. So they were all initiated, if you will, but not all of them developed cancer. Therefore, this variable, in this case was the animal protein, was somehow affecting the second stage, which is promotion. Okay, remember? We also talked about how well, actually, not animal protein, in this case is red meat or processed meats, is actually considered a carcinogen by the WHO, the World Health Organization, or this particular agency in the World Health Organization. So it's considered a carcinogen. I mean, it is what it is. All right, we talked about that. There's this particular chemical that is produced when the red meat, in particular, any meat, actually, when it's put on a grill, when you put any meat on a grill, apart from the proteins in the meat, the grilling process produces many carcinogenic substances. And I gave you one example, benzopyrene, for instance. And this study actually talks about those carcinogens, and it talks about benzopyrene. And I mentioned last time that the equivalent of 600 cigarettes is present in 2 pounds of grilled meat. So that's pretty surprising. I think it was surprising for some of you guys. We talked about acrylamide. I don't know if you remember, but we talked about that, present in fried foods in particular, because they achieve a very high temperature. So these are starchy foods that are put in high temperature, and they form acrylamides. And I think the last thing we talked about is TMAO, and these are formed in the gut when we eat certain kinds of foods. And these are the kinds of foods that, when present in the presence of microbiota, they form these metabolites that then we are exposed to and can cause cancer. So TMAO is another one. And we talked about cholesterol. Cholesterol, when we eat foods with cholesterol, maybe they don't cause our serum cholesterol, meaning the cholesterol in our blood, to go up. That's maybe those two are disconnected. Blood cholesterol and dietary cholesterol, maybe they're disconnected. Okay, fine. But the dietary cholesterol still causes cancer, because that's what they have found. I'm just giving you a review of last time. And to conclude last time's program, we came to this quote that I find fascinating. The results of these and other studies show that nutrition is more important in controlling there's that word again, promotion of cancer, than the doses of cancer initiators. So the conclusion that Dr. Campbell came to is that, yes, we can be exposed to many chemicals, fertilizers, and all these different pesticides, whatever, chemicals in food, we can be exposed to those things even in the food we buy. We might not be able to afford everything organic, but that doesn't mean that we're going to just give up and eat junk from now on because we can't buy organic fruit. No, because actually the fruit and the vegetables that are not organic, you can wash them. First of all, you can clean them and take out 90 to 95% of those fertilizers and those pesticides. But those fruits and vegetables inside also have these magnificent compounds that I'm going to talk to you about today that actually fight cancer and don't have those cancer causing things such as protein, cholesterol, and these other things that might cause cancer. Therefore, the nutrition, what you eat, what you're exposed to in the diet might have even more effect in the promotion of cancer than that original whatever you were exposed to, toxin or excess UV rays from the sun or whatever you were exposed to. What you eat might be even more important. And here's another quote that we read last time. Cancer promotion, again, that second part of that development of cancer promotion, he says, is reversible. Remember when we read this? And I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't say it, because it's a very bold statement. Very bold. I don't think any medical doctor will be bold enough to say it, right? Because this is kind of going against the grain, if you will, against the conventional knowledge or conventional wisdom, conventional, the conventional sayings right now, because most people will say, yeah, well, cancer is incurable. You're just going to use this treatment to keep it in check. Hopefully it won't come back. But here it says cancer promotion is reversible, but not just reversible. It depends. It depends on what? On whether that initial cancer growth has the correct conditions to grow. So when you were exposed to whatever it is that's causing cancer, that's the key. When you were exposed to whatever that thing that causes cancer, were the conditions in your body good for that cancer to grow? Or were they not? We don't know. But from now on, do you want to have those conditions in your body for cancer to grow? Or do you not? It's up to you. It's up to you. And you know what? Now I'm remembering that I took out some slides that I totally wanted to show you. And I just remembered that I forgot to put them. I'm just going to tell you about a study, and you can look it up. In fact, I'll just, just send me, oh, by the way, if you've written me these last 2 weeks, I apologize. I tried to respond to many, many messages. I did respond to many. I did not have time to, because I have been doing the 10-day program at my work right now. And it was a little bit more difficult than usual because of the holiday. The clinic we usually partner with was closed for the holiday. They always close for holidays, but we usually partner with a church when the clinic is closed. Seventh Day Adventist Church in Watsonville, California. And that church is tearing down the building, the fellowship hall where we usually meet when the clinic is closed. And so we couldn't meet there either. And we almost didn't have the class. And so we were looking frenetically for a place to meet all of last week. And it was just terrible. We almost had to cancel the class. And I have noticed that when we cancel the class, our results suffer. We do not have the same outcomes. That educational component is very, very important. People need to know. People need to know in their brain why food is so important for these diseases. When they don't hear it, they don't have the same motivation. So I apologize if I haven't answered to your messages that you've sent me in my website. But if you do send me a message these next few days, I will be looking into those messages the next few days. Sorry. But what I want to say is that I could send you the references for the study where what happened is this: they took blood from women who had um, who had breast cancer, and they had these petri dishes. I don't know if you've seen, if you've taken any like biochemistry class or whatever. And so they put these cancer cells in petri dishes, and they put the blood of these women on those cancer cells. And at first before the intervention, well, nothing happened. The cancer cells were still there. And then what they did, the intervention was that they put these women on a plant-based diet for 2 weeks. And after the 2 weeks, they repeated the experiment where they put the blood on the cancer cells, and they looked at them again with a microscope, obviously. And the second time they did this, after the intervention, 2 weeks of a plant-based diet, that blood destroyed those cancer cells. And they actually show in the study, and I wish I had put this slide, I wish I had taken it out. They actually show the difference before and after. You see the two pictures, one with the cancer cells before the intervention where the blood did nothing. And the second picture with no cancer cells. So the blood of these women after 2 weeks of eating a plant-based diet was able to get rid of the cancer cells, which is amazing. Another thing is a study that Dr. Dean Ornish, you can look this up. Dr. Dean Ornish is very famous for having been one of the first who did a study that found that coronary heart disease can actually start to be reversed. So before this, in the 1990s, every doctor thought that once you had coronary artery disease, in other words, the accumulation of plaque inside your arteries, once that started to happen, it was irreversible. But he, in the early 1990s, published a study where they found that, yeah, if you put people on a plant-based diet, that plaque that starts to obstruct those arteries actually can start to go down, become thinner. And in other words, the obstruction starts to go away. And so he became famous. But more recently, he did a study with patients with prostate cancer. And what they found is that early stage prostate cancer, the men who were put on a plant-based diet, they actually got better. Their numbers became better. Their cancer did not progress. So they put the group of men into two separate groups. Some had the intervention, some didn't. In the intervention group, the cancer did progress, and some of them had to then be put on a cancer treatment. Whereas the men who did have the intervention, meaning the plant-based diet, none of them had to be put on cancer treatment because none of them had actually a cancer that progressed. So those are very good studies of the possible good outcomes of a plant-based diet on cancer. So that's pretty awesome, I think. So if you're interested, I can absolutely send you those studies if you're interested in the references. So what we're going to talk about is, well, what are these foods? What foods are they that fight cancer? You probably already have an idea, but I'm going to talk to you about specific things in the foods. What's in the foods that fight cancer, and why should you eat them? Okay. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is antioxidants. You probably heard that word before, like antioxidants. People hear all the time in the media, right? I don't know, social media, right? Like doctors, presentations, videos, people talk about antioxidants. And it's a word that's used all the time. But what is it, though? I kind of want to tell you a little bit what it is, so at least you know, because it's a bit of a concept that a lot of people might not know really what it is. And maybe this will help you. Maybe it'll give you an idea. I don't know if it will. I don't know if it will help. But antioxidant, like it says in this slide, Antioxidants are naturally occurring molecules that are present in certain foods, obviously, that help to fight free radicals. There's another word, like what are free radicals? Well, it says right here. But what do antioxidants do? They donate an electron. Now we're talking about chemistry, but just stick with me a little bit, okay? Electrons. They donate electrons so that they don't steal the electrons from healthy cells. So here's a little bit of an illustration that I added for you. Here's a healthy cell. Here's a free radical. See, this is a bad guy. The bad guy steals an electron from a healthy cell. So now it damages free radicals. Here's free radicals. Here's the definition. Free radicals are missing an electron. So what do? They steal it from healthy cells, thus causing damage. Okay, so here's the bad guy stealing an electron from a healthy cell. It damages these cells. That's why free radicals are bad. What do antioxidants do? This is how they help. They donate the electron to the free radical so they don't have to go out and steal it from the healthy cells. Okay, I hope that helps so that at least you know what's happening. At least you know kind of the big picture. Here's another slide that maybe helps too. So antioxidants are a group of naturally occurring substances that protect cells from oxidative damage. I wanted to put this also in the PowerPoint presentation because oxidative damage is another big word that people hear, and I don't know if everybody knows really what it is. Oxidative damage. Well, what is it? Well, it's basically the damage caused by these free radicals. That's really what it is. So here it is again. Antioxidants are touted to fight free radical damage by donating electrons to deactivate the free radical. So that's what's happened. Here it's talking about, in particular, about protecting the skin, but not just protect. It doesn't just protect, or antioxidants don't just protect skin. They do much more than just protect skin. They actually can prevent cancer. So they prevent damage, as I said, to cells. So they're very, very, they're very good for us. But I want to give you I want to tell you one thing. They have done studies with taking supplements of antioxidants. When they discovered how good antioxidants are, they actually started doing studies by giving supplements to people, and they found that supplements do the exact opposite as the foods with the antioxidants. They actually found that when I think it was smokers, they gave vitamin A, and instead of preventing cancer from developing in smokers, they actually caused more cancer. So it's better to get them from food. Trying to get them from food, not from taking pills. In other words, pills are not from God. Foods are from God. So let's get our antioxidants from the source, the original source, which is the food that God made. All right. So what's the best source for antioxidants? You probably already know that fruits and vegetables. Actually, fruits and vegetables that are the most colorful. I always tell this, you probably already heard it a million times. Eat the rainbow. Why? Because the more colorful the fruits and vegetables are, the more brilliant, the more the colors that are more darker, more colorful, the more colorful the fruits and vegetables are, the better, because that means there's more pigments in these fruits and vegetables, and the pigments are the antioxidants. That's why we tell you to eat the rainbow. Now, you've probably already heard about cruciferous vegetables. Amongst all vegetables, cruciferous vegetables stand out probably the most. You've probably heard this. I hope you have, because if you've heard it, that means you're paying attention. Cruciferous vegetables have, in particular, this one compound, that you see on the screen called sulforaphane. Have you heard about sulforaphane? I hope you have. If you've heard about sulforaphane, you've probably heard about it has so many benefits. I don't have time to go over all the benefits of sulforaphane. I'm going to talk only in relation to cancer. But sulforaphane in relation to cancer has been shown to prevent cancer and, number two, inhibit. Well, they've done studies in particular with breast cancer, for instance, where they found that inhibits breast cancer stem cells, which are the ones that then become other types of cells. That's what stem cells are. So the mechanisms by which sulforaphane might have these effects might be by inducing apoptosis. I don't know if you've heard of this word. Did I mention it last time? I might have. Apoptosis is basically the way in which cells destroy themselves. It's programmed cell death. So it's a very good sort of system that cells have to get die, but it's orderly death, if you will. It's programmed ahead of time. So the sulforaphane induces cancer cells to die. But also, the other way in which sulforaphane might act is by suppressing, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this term last time, angiogenesis. Do you remember that word last time? Angiogenesis means the production of blood vessels. And the production of blood vessels is great unless it's in tumors. Because if you're feeding the tumor with blood vessels, that means you're feeding the tumor with blood, meaning it's growing more. You don't want angiogenesis. Anything that prevents angiogenesis in tumors is good because that means the tumor's not growing. So that's what sulforaphane does. It prevents angiogenesis in tumors. That's actually a good thing. Isn't that wonderful? All right. So all cruciferous vegetables have it, but broccoli in particular is the highest. Did you know? Did you know, by the way, that, well, I won't tell you until I see the slide, but what are the cruciferous vegetables? Broccoli, but all the cousins of broccoli, cabbage, red cabbage has more of not just red cabbage has more of also other antioxidants because of has more pigments, right? Because it's red. But all cabbage is good, actually, so eat it. Cauliflower, of course, is good. Do you know these little things right here? A lot of people don't like them. The Brussels sprouts, you see them? Also, by the way, did you know that these two green vegetables are also cruciferous vegetables? Do you guys eat them? The green cruciferous vegetables, green leafy vegetables, the kale, the collard greens. Do you eat them? Put a one in the chat if you eat collard greens and kale. There's many varieties of kale, by the way. So I hope you're eating your green vegetables every day. Why should you eat green leafy vegetables every day? Why? Why? Because green leafy vegetables, are the most nutrient-dense foods in the human diet. What's nutrient-dense? Meaning they have the most amount. Oh, there's a one in the chat. Only one person? No, I can't believe only one person. Oh, there's another one. Great. 2 people eat greens. 3 people eat greens every day. Oh, I feel better now. All right, wonderful. As I was saying, 4. Okay. Awesome. We have healthy people. Yay. As I was saying, green leafy vegetables, you guys, have the highest nutrient density of any other food in the human diet, meaning they have the highest concentration of micronutrients per weight. What are micronutrients? Vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals. So all these other substances that are, oh, there's another one. All these substances that are fighting cancer and heart disease and autoimmune diseases and on and on and on and on. Okay, these disease fighting chemicals. Sounds kind of weird to say chemicals because when we say chemicals, we think of bad things. These are good substances. So they're phytonutrients, phytochemicals. Okay, they're not bad, they're good. All right, so green leafy vegetables every day. If you're not eating your green leafy vegetables every day, you can start today. Oh, you can start tomorrow, actually. It's kind of late today. But maybe tomorrow. You can eat them in a big salad, or you can steam them briefly. You don't need to overcook them. You can make a green smoothie. So many ways. All right. What I was going to say before is that, did you know that broccoli sprouts have 10 times more sulforaphane than regular broccoli? Did you know? Up to 100 even. Did you know? No? Yes? No? Well, they do. So, if you really want to get more sulforaphane in your life, in your body, make some broccoli sprouts. Go to the health food store or order them online, these little seeds, and sprout them. How do you sprout them? Soak them overnight. The next morning, you put the soak them overnight in a jar like this, glass jar. Put a little metal screen or whatever other screen that you like. I don't know, like a cheesecloth, I guess would work, so that can breathe also, but it can also drain. And so soak them overnight. The next morning, you let it drain out. Well, wash them before, like let the water drain out, and then let the water. I guess you would rinse them again, and then let the water drain out. But put the jar like this on an angle so it could be draining the whole time. That's what I do. I always have a jar of broccoli sprouts going for my husband. Actually, I eat them sometimes. I mostly make them. I have one right now over there. I would go get it, but then you'd be bored while you wait for me, so I won't bring it. But I have one right now going. Takes about. And so what do? You rinse it 3 times a day. That's what I do. Rinse it 3 times a day. In about 5 days, you get these little sprouts that you see on the screen. Question: should we eat leafy greens raw or cooked? I'd say however you're going to eat them. But if you eat them raw, you probably get more nutrition out of them. If you're going to eat them cooked, I would say steam them briefly, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. I don't think you need to do more than that. So you want to preserve the color as much as possible. You would still want them to be very bright green. If you cook them for too long, you're probably going to be destroying a lot of those nutrients. All right. So our producer, I hope she's reading the comments. I can't control the size of the screen. Our producer can do it. So we're being asked if it could be put on full screen. So, yes, there it is. Thank you, producer. So there it is. Broccoli sprouts. Awesome, you guys. So maybe you can do the other way. Me small and the slight big. All right. Anyway, let's talk about berries. Oh, berries are just the bomb. Berries. For diabetics, I recommend berries as the number one fruit. You know why? There's studies that have shown that not only do they not elevate blood sugars, they actually lower. I would tell you all about it if we had time because I just talk too much. I won't tell you all about it. I'll just mention it that berries lower blood sugar. They do not elevate. They're fruit. They're sweet, but they do not elevate blood sugars. They lower blood sugar. That's all I wanted to tell you. Okay, in regards to that. But when it comes to cancer, effects of berries are amazing. First of all, they attenuate inflammation. They lower inflammation. They inhibit angiogenesis. Did you already forget what angiogenesis is, or do you still remember? I hope you still remember. Angiogenesis, the formation of blood vessels in tumors. They inhibit it. Protect DNA damage. They protect DNA damage. They have effects on apoptosis. Did you already forget the word apoptosis, or do you still remember? Apoptosis. Program cell death. So it makes tumor cells die, basically. They also have observed, researchers that is, they have observed that berries extend their effects on the proliferation rates of listen, pre-malignant, pre-malignant. In other words, before cancer even becomes cancer. Isn't that amazing? Not only berries help prevent cancer, but it has been shown that consumption of other fruits and vegetables, obviously, all fruits and vegetables are associated with reduced cancer mortality. So I want you to not just eat berries, okay? But I just wanted to say that berries are number one when it comes to amounts or concentration of antioxidants. They're the number one. But honestly, all fruits and vegetables are anti-cancer. So do not leave the other ones out. That's why they tell us how many servings a day. Remember, fruits and vegetables. How many? One, two, three, four, five at least. Do you know that 98% of Americans do not eat five a day? 98% makes me want to cry. And now even the government says five a day is not even enough. It should be 6 to 9. How much is that? At least half a pound. At least. Are you eating half a pound of fruits and vegetables a day? Are we? Because actually, it should be about 600 grams. That's even more than half a pound. So, about 300 grams of vegetables and 300 grams of fruit a day, every single day. I hope we are trying at least to eat that much, because all fruits and vegetables, inhibit the proliferation of cancer cells. Cancer cells. Here are some of the other ones that are top of the list: apples, red grapes, bananas, grapefruits, peaches. Do you like any of those? I sure hope so. I like some of those. Aren't they delicious? Fruits are great. They're like the fast food made by God. What do you need to do to fruit to make it taste good? Absolutely nothing. They taste good already. They don't have to cook it, don't have to add salt, sugar, nothing. It's fast food, isn't it? Made by God. Okay, now we're going to talk about controversial. Are you ready? This is going to be controversial. Sorry, you guys. I need to say it. It needs to be said. Because this is, well, how can I say it? This is controversial. That's the word. Some people, well, here's the thing. There's been misinformation. That's the truth. There's been a lot of misinformation. And you know why? I believe the misinformation, well, I pretty much know the misinformation started because the food industry started spreading the misinformation about soy when soy became really popular, even back in the, I don't know, 70s, even when a lot of the, hippie crunchy granola people started eating a lot of soy. They wanted to stop eating meat, and uh, it became really popular. But even before that, honestly, even before that, even in the 1960s, I would say, when the Adventist health studies started to come out, the first ones, it showed that Adventists who ate way back when, I mean, I'm talking about like the 60s, Adventists who were eating soy way back then having less cancer than people who didn't eat soy. And the Adventists probably got the idea from, I don't know, ancient Asian cultures who've been eating soy since, I don't know, 5,000 years ago. I don't know, 2,000 years minimum. And they have less cancer. They've had less cancer this whole time. Anyway, I'm just going to give you the facts, okay? You can look it up. Oh, but here's the thing. Always, always, always to the law and the testimony. See who's telling you all this information. Where's the source? Is the source reliable? Because when I first started doing these presentations 20 years ago, not lately, 20 years ago, I looked at the original source of the misinformation, and it was mostly people who were recommending at the time eat a very high fat diet. It wasn't the keto diet yet because keto diet wasn't around. It was people who were recommending eating lard, eating, beef tallow, all these other, source, of course, meat, red meat a lot. And I'm like, to the law and the testimony, no, this is not a good source of information. So try to apply that too. Okay. See who's recommending, not eating soy or whatever. Okay. So here's the thing. Why is it controversial to eat soy? Mostly because people talk about estrogen, right? Does soy have estrogen? No. Soy has isoflavones that are considered phyto. Remember, the word phyto means plant. Phytoestrogens are plant compounds that mimic the effects of estrogen in the body, and these phytoestrogens are associated with a reduced risk of colorectal and breast cancer. Now, contrary to the myths that circulate on social media networks, on the internet, soy not only does not cause cancer, hear me out, please, just be patient. Not only does not cause cancer, it actually prevents it. According to studies of, for example, breast cancer survivors, consumption of soy, just 10 milligrams of isoflavones a day, was associated with reduced cancer recurrence in one study of breast cancer. There's studies that they have done with soy where they showed 29% lower risk of dying from breast cancer and 36% lower risk of cancer recurrence. I remember a lady, this was maybe about 15 years ago, another church that I used to go to, and she had breast cancer, and then she had treatment or whatever. And at our potlucks, she would say, "Oh, I can't have that because I had breast cancer. I can't eat soy. I can't eat tofu." Misinformed, because there's 36% lower risk of cancer recurrence if you eat soy. Now, I'm not talking about soy burgers, highly processed soy, I don't know, hot dogs or something. I'm talking about soy in its less processed form. Now, soy phytoestrogens activate the BRCA1 and the BRCA2 genes. I don't know if you've heard of these. These are oncosuppressor genes. What does that mean? They suppress cancer development. These are genes that suppress cancer development. And some people have this genetic predisposition to cancer because they inherit. It's a rare hereditary cancer because some people have this gene where these BRCA genes aren't working properly. So that's why that famous actress, I forget her name, she had double mastectomy. What's her name? Anyway, you guys know. Put in the chat for me because I forgot her name. I'm blanking out right now, but people have this double mastectomy when they think they're going to have breast cancer because they lack the BRCA1, BRCA2 genes. Well, phytoestrogens activate BRCA1, BRCA2. Isn't that amazing? I don't know how people know this. I have no idea. So this is why Soy consumption provides important benefits because they activate the BRCA, these oncosuppressor genes. Okay, and so they help people with hereditary cancer and non-hereditary cancer. So people who are worried about the estrogen thing, as I said last program, estrogen or soy, I mean, the soy phytoestrogens are selective estrogen receptor modulators. What does that mean? They can generate positive effects of estrogen in some tissues, such as the bone, for example, and then can have an, listen, anti-estrogenic effect in other tissues, such as breast cancer, when needed, similar to some drugs. So, in other words, they can help you, like fight, like have the anti-estrogenic effect when needed, or pro-estrogenic effect when needed. That's why it's selective estrogenic receptor modulators. Positive effect. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. So, and there's a whole scientific explanation why they're selective. It has to do with the estrogen receptors alpha and beta. There's a whole explanation. I'm not going to go into it because it's long. I just wanted to tell you that the women with the highest soy isoflavin intake, like Asian women, for example, who eat about 1 or 2 servings a day, usually in the form of tofu or soy milk or whatever, have the lowest risk rate for cancer recurring in women. Isn't that amazing? Lowest risk of cancer recurrence. About half. Larger study in China was done, showed the same positive effect of eating soy foods, not supplements, soy foods, in both hormone receptor positive and hormone receptor negative cancers. So, all I can tell you is this is what the researchers have found. Among women with breast cancer consumption, soy food was significantly associated with low risk of death and cancer recurrence. Okay? So if you hear misinformation, try to ignore it. That's all I can say. Try to ignore it. Here's one study, for instance, that you can look at the study, take a picture of the screen, and then in your own time, look it up, read the study. Just read it. Okay? But as I was saying, Health Adventist Study 1, this was done. Okay, no, the one I was mentioning before was the Adventist mortality study. That was done in the 50s. That was the first Health Adventist study, but it wasn't called Health Adventist Study 1. It was called the Adventist mortality study, I think it was called. And that found already decreased mortality. But the Health Adventist Study 1, which was done in the 70s, in particular, found that men who drink soy milk more than once a day can reduce the risk for prostate cancer. Oh, Angelina Jolie, somebody put it. Thank you, you guys. Angelina Jolie is the actress that took the double mastectomy. And it's because of that rare form of hereditary cancer. It has to do with the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes that are oncosuppressors. Or they're lacking those genes. All right. As I was saying, Adventist men who drink one or more or drink soy milk once or twice or more a day, I guess, reduce the risk of prostate cancer by 70%. That's quite significant. 70% is quite a bit. It is a lot, I think. So here's another one. People think, oh, men can't have a soy. Oh, no. That will interfere with their masculinity, I guess, or the fertility. Oh, no, they won't have babies. Oh, yeah. Well, people in China eat a lot of soy. And does it interfere with their fertility? Has it been interfering with their fertility in the last 100 years? I don't think so. It's the most populated country in the world. So I don't think it's interfering with any fertility. Just saying. All right. If you really want to know all the myths, if you want to dispel all the myths of soy, this study is the biggest study I've read or I have seen, period. Not just in soy. It's the biggest study I have seen ever on anything. It's a meta analysis of 400, I forgot how many exactly, but 467, I think, studies. It's a huge study. It's over 60 pages. It's the biggest study I've ever seen on anything. It was done by Loma Linda, I think, researchers, published in 2021, I think. It's a really, really big study. I highly recommend it if you really want to go deep into it. And they honestly go through every single thing that people are worried about: cancer, thyroid problems, hormonal imbalances, babies that drink too much soy formula or whatever. I don't know, adolescents, boys, girls, whatever. All of the issues with soy that you have heard right and left. They go through every single study that has been done regarding that particular topic and they analyze them, every single one. And they come to a conclusion regarding that. And for the most part, I can tell you the bottom line is that they're not been proven. Scientifically speaking, they have not been proven. Most of the studies, most of the scary studies have been done with animals, not humans, with amounts of soy that you would have to eat a truckload of tofu to be able to achieve those kinds of concentrations of soy to get those kinds of effects. And they're usually not even foods, they're concentrates. They're not actually tofu or, soybeans or soy milk. No, they're concentrated tofu or, soy proteins or something. They're not foods. So I don't know what else to say. These myths have been debunked. That's the bottom line. What else can I tell you? If you have questions, put them in the chat if you have questions about soy. But bottom line, soybeans and the minimally processed soy foods that are made from soybeans. You can make soy milk at home. I just made it today. I make soy milk myself in my house with a soy milk maker that I bought. It's like a big thing like this. Mix it in about half an hour. I have the pulp. I use that pulp also. You can use the pulp to make. I add it to my oatmeal. Yummy. It's good. And then I drink the milk. That's it. With that milk, you can make tofu at home if you really want to take the time. The fact that you can make it at home indicates that tofu is a minimally processed food. It's not a highly processed food. If it was a highly processed food, you would not be able to make it at home. That's pretty much the definition of a highly processed food. You can't make it at home. So tofu is a minimally processed food. All right? So if you eat those foods, you will be good. By the way, here's another thing that you probably don't know, okay? Did you know that flax, what you're seeing on the screen, flax food, everybody loves to talk about flax. Flax and chia, by the way, are very similar. They both have what are called the omega-3 fatty acids. They're very anti-inflammatory, as you probably know. They're awesome, right? They have the soluble fibers and all these awesome things. All right, wonderful. Okay, well, flax foods are also anti-cancer. You know why? Because they have something called lignins. Lignins. Ah, that's awesome. Lignins prevent cancer. Well, that's great. I want some more lignins in my life, right? I want lignins. Well, let me tell you something about lignins. Lignins are phytoestrogens. Did you know that? Lignins are also phytoestrogens. That's why they fight cancer, because they're phytoestrogens. You probably didn't know that. Anyway, flax seeds, they've been studied. They've been studied because the effects of flax seeds have been studied on biomarkers of tumors and urinary excretions of lignins in postmenopausal patients newly diagnosed with breast cancer, and the researchers concluded that consumption of flax seeds has the potential to reduce tumor growth in breast cancer patients, probably because they're phytoestrogens. Yeah, awesome. So let's consume flax seeds. In fact, I actually recommend either flax seeds or chia seeds or a combination of both. You can go back and forth. One day flax seeds, the other day chia, and just go back and forth every day, whatever you want. I do recommend them daily, especially if you are, well, actually daily all the time, just period. Why? Because most people don't eat enough omega-3 fatty acids, just what it is. Most people eat an excess of omega-6 and not enough omega-3. And we need omega-3s. We just don't get enough. If you eat an excess of omega-6, you're not converting these omega-3s into long chain omega-3s. These are short chain omega-3s. And you need to reduce the amount of omega-6 in order to be able to convert these into long chain. So try to not eat oils. That's another reason why to not eat oils. Because if you're not reducing the oils, you're probably consuming an excess of omega-6 that will not allow you to convert the short chain omega-3 fatty acids and the chia and the flax into the DHA and EPA, which are the long chain omega-3 fatty acids that have those anti-inflammatory effects that prevent cancer, heart disease, diabetes, etc. Okay? So, daily, how much? 1 tablespoon minimum. If you have diabetes, heart disease, whatever else, maybe 1 to 2. If you have an autoimmune disease, more, maybe up to a quarter a cup, possibly. Okay, possibly. Okie dokie. How about nuts and seeds? What do? They're amazing. Nuts and seeds. I have to finish. Ooh, I better hurry. Okay, nuts and seeds. What do? A study of consumption of nuts and seeds like walnuts, almonds, hazelnuts, pistachios. Okay, they found that people who consume them 2 or more times a week lower the risk of pancreatic cancer, which is one of the deadliest, you guys. Peanuts, which are botanically not nuts or seeds. They're actually a legume. I don't know if you knew this. But nutritional, the nutritional properties, because of the amount of fats or whatever they have, they're more like a nut. But they also were included in these studies, and they found that actually peanuts are very good. Actually, they're like 3rd place, if you will, in their anti-cancer properties. And they have found that they have resveratrol, even like the thing that sometimes we hear like red grapes have. But they prevent colon cancer. They have a role in the expression of estrogen receptors, and prevent malignant colon tissue from growing. They have all kinds of very good things. Prevent metastasis. So 2 or more times a week. In fact, ideally every day. Okay? So that's nuts and seeds. Next, did you know mushrooms? This one could be sometimes controversial. For some people, people think that we should not eat mushrooms, but honestly, it's nowhere in the Bible or spirit of prophecy. Oh, I hope I don't get in trouble. Oh, somebody asked me, what's your opinion on wild strawberries, mulberries, mushrooms, such as turkey tail? I had never heard of turkey tail mushroom. Boletus. We over here in Mountain have it. Well, if it's not poisonous, it's probably great. That's why I can tell you, stay away from poisonous mushrooms or those that are magic mushrooms, or ones that have psychedelic effects. But other than that, mushrooms have been found. Okay, I'll tell you about mushrooms. Let me tell you real quick about mushrooms. Okay, mushrooms are wonderful. Even the white mushrooms, those already have been found to have chemoprotective agents that prevent breast cancer and other types of cancer. So any mushroom, they've done studies that can prevent cancer, the growth of tumors in breast cancer patients, for instance. For instance, they showed that white mushrooms extract reduce the tumor proliferation tumor weight without affecting other tissues, for instance. They have found that in vivo anti-cancer activity of white mushroom extract and its main fatty acid components. Among other mushrooms that have been studied that have anti-cancer effect are shiitake, reishi, Antrodia camphorata, which I don't know what that is, but I'm probably going to look it up. I think it's a mushroom from Taiwan. But obviously, there's other vegetables, so not just mushrooms. Okay, so this particular study that I read about mushrooms said also mentioned other vegetables that have phytochemicals that suppress the same enzyme that mushroom suppresses. So the same enzyme that mushroom acts upon, other vegetables act upon. And here are the other the vegetables that the same study mentioned, which are bell peppers, broccoli, carrot, celery, chives, and spinach. Cruciferous vegetables, obviously, beets. So, and number one is garlic. Garlic, number one vegetable that suppresses these enzymes that cause cancer. Same ones as mushrooms. But you know what? The simplest mushrooms that you find in any grocery store. You don't have to buy the very fancy ones. See, that they just want to sell you stuff. They just want you to spend money. Just buy white mushrooms. What amount of greens? What does the amount of greens look like? What amount? Like a big salad. A big salad. Or a green smoothie. Big green smoothie. That's the amount. Okay. I cannot forget to tell you about seaweeds. Seaweeds are the vegetables of the ocean. They have anti-cancer properties. A study published in a Japanese cancer research. Of course, it had to be Japanese because they love seaweed. Of course, I got to study about them. They reported that just the type of seaweed that's widely consumed, so nothing out of the ordinary, just a very common seaweed that was considered safe, inexpensive, called mekabu, has the potential to prevent human breast cancer. They study a lot of breast cancer, I guess, over there. It's very common, obviously, in women. So they reported that this solution of mekabu had induced apoptosis. There's that word again, you guys, programmed cell death, and 3 types of breast cancer. And these effects were more intense than those of chemotherapeutic agent. In other words, chemotherapy. In addition, it was observed that no apoptosis in normal human breast cells. So it didn't affect the human breast cells, just the bad cells. Also, they did a study with seaweeds here in the Bay Area, and if you eat normal amounts of seaweed, it does not risk your thyroid. Some people are worried about too much seaweed can affect your thyroid because of the iodine. Okay, but don't eat too much. Just eat normal amounts. Don't eat like a whole pound of seaweed every day. Just eat normal amounts, moderate amounts of seaweed. And just maybe 2 or 3 times a week instead of every day. Maybe the equivalent of 1 nori sheet per day. 1 nori sheet per day. No more than that. And you're fine. And you'll get your iodine, not in excess, also not in deficit. It's what you need. All right? So some authors consider seaweed as disease preventers and health promoters because they help prevent cancer and also other conditions associated with metabolic syndrome. Seaweed contains phytonutrients not found in other foods, such as some types of fiber. One type of fiber called alginate, only found in seaweed, no other foods. Unique carotenoids, one called fucoxanthin. Unique polysaccharides. I'm not going to pronounce them, too hard, but only found in seaweeds. And several defense polyphenols that have anti-cancer properties. And they're only found in seaweeds. You're not going to find them anywhere else. Isn't that amazing? Okay. I'm not going to say you absolutely have to eat them. But if you once in a while see seaweed salad, for instance, now you know. Or nori sheets. Buy the nori sheets, and then you put stuff in there, veggies, some avocado, whatever, and roll them up and make it like a little burrito or something. Your own sushi. What do you think about that? Okay, don't forget having a strong immune system. is how you prevent cancer. So do all the things that help you to have a strong immune system. What helps you to have a strong immune system? What do you think helps you to have a strong immune system? Obviously, following all the 8 principles of health. Good diet, but exercise. You can eat perfect diet and not exercising. What's that going to do? And if you're not sleeping, if you're not drinking water, what's that going to do? You can have a perfect diet and still not have good health if you're violating the loss of health, the other loss of health. If you're sleeping 4 hours a night, I don't care how perfect your diet is. I really don't care how perfect your diet is. You're still going to get sick. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. Okay? If you're not getting enough sunlight to produce enough vitamin D, your immune system's going to suffer. You need that vitamin D. Not too much. If you're 2 hours out in the sunlight, you're going to get too much UV radiation. That might cause cancer. See how it works? Okay. Last thing I'm going to mention is the effects of fasting. I just think it's remarkable because they have found that fasting actually helps chemotherapy work better. It has a selective effect on making cancer cells more vulnerable to the chemotherapy and radiation treatments and protects normal cells from the radiation and chemotherapy treatment. So it helps people going through chemotherapy and radiation to not have the side effects of those treatments. And the people who didn't go through the radiation and chemotherapy, the fasting, but it has to be at least, I think, longer fasting, not just 24 hours, like maybe 48 to 72 hours of water fasting has a very similar effect to chemotherapy. It almost has the same effects on cancer cells as chemotherapy. Now, I'm not saying skip the chemo. I can't tell you that. I'm just saying people who voluntarily didn't want to do the chemo or couldn't do the chemo maybe for whatever reason, and they fasted, they had a similar effect that what chemotherapy could do. But if you do the chemo and the fasting, it's better than chemotherapy alone, which is important to know, I think. Patients should know. And actually, you can actually read about this. There's a book called Fasting for Cancer, written by this researcher who came up with something called the fasting mimicking diet. It's kind of expensive protocol. You can actually do it. You can order the fasting mimicking diet. It comes to your house like a box. I don't work for them. I don't think I work for them. It's kind of expensive actually, but it's very good. And you can do it once a quarter or whatever. It has the benefits of doing the fasting without really fasting. It's like a very low calorie, but it's formulated to have the same effects as fasting. So anyway, so this is what my husband is doing. Oh no, it's covered. Some of it is covered. But I just wanted to let you know that my husband refused the cancer. I didn't tell him to refuse the cancer. I actually wanted him to do the cancer so they wouldn't blame me that I made him refuse the cancer. Actually, I said, you should consider it because I don't want to be blamed. But he's like, nope. His chances of it coming back without the chemo were not that great anyway. So he decided not to have it. But he's doing a whole food plant-based diet. He stopped eating sugar. He was eating sugar. He was one of those vegans who eats sugar and chips. Well, he stopped. He did daily juices for 2 years. He made his own juice every morning. Vegetables, no fruit, because you do concentrate the sugar of the fruit when you make juice. So he made only vegetables, only put vegetables. I made him green smoothies for about 6 months and turmeric shots for about 6 months. After that, he started putting turmeric in his own juice. He put garlic in his juice, by the way. Garlic, number 1, anti-cancer vegetable. Not a lot, because otherwise you start smelling like it way too much. So about, maybe 1 or 2 cloves of garlic. Salads, he did not eat salads previous to this, maybe once a week. he eats his daily salad, and he still does it every single day. Thank goodness. Broccoli sprouts. As I said, I make them for him. He still eats them every day. This is still hard for him. Make sure you buy organic. He forgets. Okay, if you're going to buy organic, if you're only going to buy one organic thing, okay, one organic fruit or vegetable, make sure it's strawberries. Strawberries are the number one fruit or vegetable with the most amount of chemicals and the most toxic chemicals, I should say. I live right here, the central coast of California, where they grow like 90 some percent of the strawberries. And I could tell you, those fields are covered up with plastic. The rows of strawberries are covered up with plastic. Under that plastic is all the chemicals are concentrated. And that stuff is very poisonous. If you're going to just choose one fruit or vegetable to make sure it's organic, I would say strawberries. Just strawberries. Now, you can look up the Dirty 12 or something that's called Dirty Dozen. I don't know what it's called. Dirty Dozen, I think, of the top high, fruits and vegetables that have the most fertilizers and pesticides or something like that. I don't know. Maybe pick the top 5 and make sure those are always organic or something. Top 3, whatever. But if it's one, I would say vegetables. That's what I would choose. And as I said before, other life factors like the 8, the New Start principles. All right. And I'm going to skip the story of this lady. If you want to read it on your own, I would highly recommend it. Her name is Ruth Heidrich, and you can read her story. Ruth Heidrich, Dr. Ruth Heidrich, PhD, how she basically fought cancer with a plant-based diet. And she's in her 80s. She's gotten all kinds of, this is Dr. Lorraine Day. That's another story of cancer going away with plant-based diet. So Ruth Heidrich and Lorraine Day. Those good stories. Look them up. Okay, we'll finish with this verse again. Exodus 15:26. If you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his sight, give ear to his commandments, including the laws of health, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you which I have brought on the Egyptians. For I am the Lord who heals you. He is our healer, our Savior. Thank you. I want to thank God every day for being our healer and our Savior. I want to give you one more time my website, healthfortoday.net. As I said in the beginning, I want to apologize if I haven't responded to your messages this week because it was terrible week for work, but this week will be much better. This is our last week of our 10-day challenge at my work. I do 10-day challenges at work, and this Sunday we'll do our checkup to see how our participants were doing. So I'm excited about that. But if you have questions, if you want to do the 10-day program, download it from my website. Healthfortoday.net is right there as you see it on top. The Daniel Challenge, just like Daniel. Maybe one day we should organize one with this group, True Health Tuesday. We should just do one. Don't you think? I think we should. Anyway, if you want to do one, let me know. We should organize one maybe. Online, True Health Tuesday 10-day challenge. If you have any questions, I'm still here, or else we'll finish. Oh, by the way, you can do a banana split, you guys. Banana split. Healthy banana split. If you want to know the recipe, you have to download it. It doesn't have ice cream. It's a healthy version of a banana split. What do you think? All right. If there's any questions, I can maybe answer one or two because it's super late. But otherwise, I'll finish with a prayer because, again, I forgot to pray at the beginning like I do because I'm just terrible. I'm not very good at this still, but I will get better I will get better. I will eventually learn how to do this right and start with a prayer. I have to put like a post-it note or something. I don't know. All right, you guys. So, any questions? If you have any questions, put it in the chat. All right. Any questions? Or if not, we will end. Thank you for being here, you guys. What goes in the green smoothie? All right, I'll give you the green smoothie, anti-inflammatory green smoothie. This, I did not come up with it. I saw it from Dr. Brooke Goldner, who has a protocol for inflammatory autoimmune diseases. You might know her already. If you don't, look her up, Dr. Brooke Goldner. She 20 years ago or something like that by now, I think, she had lupus and she came up, well, she found out by accident that some fruit, I think it was blueberries, had some anti inflammatory effect. She's a doctor, medical doctor. She's like, whoa, how come I never heard of this? She started looking up more, foods that might be anti inflammatory. She found all kinds of fruits and vegetables, whatever. Eventually she's like, okay, well, I need to change my diet. And she basically went on a whole food plant-based diet, but she needed to include a lot of greens. Somehow, at first she was eating gigantic salads, but it was hard to eat like 2 big salads a day. So like, how am I going to do this? So eventually she's like, okay, I'm going to make a smoothie. So here's the smoothie. She takes, here's a blender jar, right? Okay, blender jar. 3/4 of it is greens. And when I make the smoothie for my participants, I'm like, don't just like boom, 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 and all of a sudden it's full. No, no, no. You've got to push them down. Just she does this too. She pushes them down. So it's like squishes them. 3/4 of the jar of the blender, right? 3/4 of it is greens. It doesn't have to be the same. In fact, I recommend it being different all the time. Okay, so one day you might do spinach or whatever. Don't do spinach all the time. That would be too much oxalates. You want to change it up. Okay, one day kale, maybe do like a green, super green mix or whatever from Costco, one of those mixes. Okay, so kale could be just even spring mix could have different like lettuces or something like that. All right, so greens, mix of greens, dark leafy. Put them in there. And the rest, so 1/4 could be fruits, whatever fruit you like. It could be one fruit like mango. It could be many fruits. It could be berries, of course, a little banana, piece of banana, whatever you want. And then you fill it up to however much water, enough to blend. But if you want it very liquidy, you put more water. You can put it up to 3/4 water or half, depends on how thick you want it. Now, if you are not used to green smoothies and you want it a little bit sweeter, you can put a couple dates, like, by the way, I found some studies that at first I was kind of worried about giving dates to my participants because I'm like, oh, I don't want their blood sugars to go up. And like, I only one date, you guys. But then I found some studies that dates actually don't elevate blood sugar at all or too much. So maybe you can put 2 dates, 3 dates, depends. Okay. But not like a whole pound of dates, obviously. 2 dates, maybe a little bit of stevia if you're okay with that. There's actually green leaf stevia, like actually powdered stevia. It's not an extract, it's just the leaves that have been powdered up. You can actually grow the stevia yourself. Anyway, put a little bit of that, or I don't know, honey, I guess, something like that. And blend it. Now, if you're going to use it as a meal replacement, then put more stuff. That's not going to keep you, like from breakfast to lunch. You got to put maybe some oats. I don't know, put some tofu even if you need some food. Okay, that's not enough to keep you for one. That's not enough for a meal. So put more, maybe a handful of walnuts, something to add calories if it's going to be a meal replacement. If it's not a meal replacement, then the vegetables, the fruit, it's enough. And then she drinks the whole thing, not all at once, maybe divide it up in two, but she drinks the whole thing in one day. That's for autoimmune diseases. If you don't have an autoimmune disease, you don't have to drink it maybe all at one day. You can save half for tomorrow. That's fine too. Okay, so that's the green smoothie recipe. All right. Do we need soaked nuts? Better if they're soaked. It starts the process of the germination, I guess, sprouting process. So it does change a little bit of the composition of the nutrients, if you will. It also, if you're gonna make something with them, like if you're gonna make like a cashew cream or whatever, it makes them softer. So it's better if you soak them, but you don't absolutely have to. It's a preference. It does start the sprouting process, so it does change a little bit of the compositions better. All right. We don't have soybeans here. We have kidney beans, chickpeas, and broad beans. Well, that's wonderful. All beans, legumes are very, very good for you. They are the number one source of fiber in the diet, all beans in general. So I recommend them to I recommend them every day, honestly, because of they're great sources of protein, even though when you do the, diabetes diet or whatever, they say, oh no, they're carbs. Honestly, most of the carbs are fiber. So if you take that away, they have actually a good enough amount of protein. They do provide dietary proteins. And of course, they have carbs and they also have fibers. So some of those carbs are fibers. They're a good source of protein. Okay. Um, and fiber, soluble fibers. Those are the fibers that help to maintain blood sugars very stable throughout the day. So they're excellent. If you're diabetic, I recommend eating half a cup per meal. Okay. So, in fact, I recommend a variety. So you're saying kidney beans, chickpeas, broad beans. Yes, add more lentils, fava beans. Just eat a variety because the more variety, the better. You're getting different nutrients. The more variety, the better. Does green smoothie have to be organic? Better if it's organic. Definitely. Yeah. The more organic, the better. If you're not getting organic, try to wash them as much as you can. Wash them, even soak them, a little bit of maybe vinegar water, and then rinse them really well, or a little bit of salt water, and then rinse them very well. That removes a lot of the chemicals. So yes, I would do that. If not, grow them yourself. If you have a little bit of land, a little bit of backyard, or a balcony, even grow them in pots. That could be done. I've done it. So anything you can grow is better than none. But if you can't grow them at all, then, and if you can't afford organic, some greens is better than no greens at all. Wash them really well, soak them for 10 minutes in salt water, and then rinse them. And that will, and even baking soda. So vinegar, salt, or baking soda, three things you can soak them with, but don't forget to rinse them. Rinse them very well. And that eliminates a lot of the chemicals in those fruits or vegetables. Okay, you guys, thank you once again. Sorry to 1 hour and 27 minutes, but I think we learned something. Put a one in the chat if you learned something today that you didn't know before. Did you learn something? I hope you did. And I want to tell you something seriously. This is not just for us. This is for sharing. This is for helping others. What we learn, we need to give to others. Make sure you give this blessing to others. Take this message, spread it. There's a one. Yay, somebody learned something. That's enough for me, even one person. Make sure that you give this to others now. If you've learned something, you've been blessed today, make sure you bless others with it. Maybe give this link, even. You can give this link. But if you can be that messenger, spread this to other people so that other people learn that God has given us these foods. He put the medicine in the food, you guys. The medicine is in the food. Last thing before I pray. We actually have a conference called Food as Medicine. It's for healthcare providers mainly. So if you're a healthcare provider, we give CUs and CMEs for healthcare providers, dietitians and nurses and doctors. One day, 5.5, I think. No, 7.5 CMEs and CUs. It's going to be in October. But it's also an online, and anybody can do it. It's not priced for great because it's for doctors, but there's an online version. The version is a little bit lower. And it's eat for the earth. No. It's food for medicine dot no food for medicine Santa Cruz.org if you're interested. It's food for food for no food as medicine. Sorry, food as medicine Santa Cruz.org. And the CMEs are provided by Adventist Health. CMEs, CEUs. Food as medicine Santa Cruz.org. All right, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for helping us to learn about you and the foods you have provided. Thank you for putting the medicine in the food. Thank you for helping us know more about the blessings you have given us through this message that can heal us. Thank you for being our healer, our Savior. Help us to live this message and then to spread it to others, to help others to get to know you as well as their healer and their Savior. Be with us the rest of today. And thank you again for everything you have given us. Thank you, Jesus. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you once again for being with us. We'll see you in 2 weeks, okay? Next program is going to be about food, or no, sugar. Is sugar a poison? That's what I'm going to talk about. Thank you again. We'll see you next program.